Welcome back, focused learners. Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the hard data behind the realities of the Russia-Ukraine conflict as we look at early 2026. You know the narrative has shifted lately, right? Well, today, we're going to look past the rhetoric and let the numbers tell the real story. We're going to see exactly what happens when a massive military machine grinds to an absolute halt.
To really understand where we are right now, we have to look at the sharp contrast between the initial weeks of the war and where things stand today. Think back to March 2022. Russian forces were rapidly advancing, occupying roughly 27% of Ukraine. But then, following that massive Ukrainian counteroffensive later that year, that footprint actually shrank down to about 18%. And now? Here in early 2026, the data shows we've reached a stark territorial standstill. Those rapid sweeping movements, they are entirely gone.
Okay, so to understand how we actually arrived at this stalemate, we're going to break things down into 4 key areas. First, we'll look at the territorial standstill itself. Second, the unsustainable human cost. Third, relics on the battlefield. And finally, the cracks forming on the home front. Section 1. The territorial standstill, a grinding halt. The mathematical halving of Russian momentum year over year is absolutely undeniable. Check this out. According to the Institute for the Study of War, in the first 3 months of 2025, Russian forces were advancing an average of 11.06 square kilometers per day. But fast forward to Q1 of 2026, that number plummeted to just 5.5 square kilometers. Their momentum has literally been cut in half. And that brings us to a genuinely historic turning point. Conflict analyst George Barrows from ISW noted something incredible. In February 2026, Ukraine actually liberated more territory than Russia seized. I mean, we're talking about a month where Russia progressed a grand total of just 47 square miles. This was the very first time since 2023 that Ukrainian forces gained more ground than Russian forces took. So, the really crucial point here is understanding just how slow the advance has become in these active siege areas. Take the long-running push for the city of Pokrovsk. This was an operation that was originally meant to last just weeks. But between February 2024 and January 2026, Russian forces moved a total of 31 miles. When you break the math down on that, it averages out to a microscopic 70 meters per day. To make that 70-meter daily gain truly tangible for you, let's look at a stark historical comparison. This current pace of advance is mathematically slower than what the Allied forces managed over a century ago during the infamous trench warfare of the Battle of the Somme in World War I. Think about that. We're looking at a level of stagnation that mirrors one of the most notoriously gridlocked conflicts in modern human history. Former Navy SEAL squadron leader Chuck Parr presents a super vivid analogy to translate all these abstract square kilometers into a recognizable landmass. He pointed out that for all the massive effort and resources spent in the first quarter of 2026, the total footprint captured basically equals the size of Fresno, California. It really puts the whole concept of a major offensive into a pretty sobering perspective, doesn't it? Section 2. An unsustainable human cost. The numbers behind the standstill. If we just let the data speak for itself, the human cost here is staggering. Just look at this massive spike. March 2026 alone saw over 35,300 casualties. That is a 29% increase over February. In just the first quarter of the year, over 100,000 men were lost. And analysts are quick to point out that this yearly rate of roughly 360,000 casualties equates to about 1,000 a day. That's a rate that's structurally unsustainable for any standing army in the world. And the intersection of land gained versus human cost, it's devastating. International political consultant Dr. Jason J. Smart highlights that in the Donetsk region, Russia is losing an estimated 316 soldiers for every single square kilometer of gained ground. 316. It's an extraordinary price to pay for such incredibly minimal territorial shifts. Section 3. Relics on the battlefield. Equipment and manpower degradation. Modern equipment depletion is quite literally forcing the military to look backward. They've lost over 11,000 tanks. To put that into perspective, that is 5 times the combined tank fleet of all European NATO partners. Because of this, Russia's vast Soviet stockpiles are being heavily drawn down, and they're increasingly forced to rely on the T-62. This is a museum-era relic dating back to the early 1960s. We're talking about a tank that was introduced when John F. Kennedy was in the White House and Elvis Presley was actively serving in the military. But it's not just the equipment that's changed, it's the manpower too. The structural drop in troop quality is honestly night and day. Back in 2022, the assault units were made up of lifelong, experienced, highly motivated soldiers. But fast forward to 2026, and heavy losses have necessitated filling the ranks with convicts, coerced civilians, and recruits lured in purely by financial bonuses. This massive shift in troop quality directly correlates to those soaring casualty rates we were just looking at. Because without proper training or heavy armor to smash through fortifications, tactics fundamentally degrade. Experts describe a phenomenon where these inexperienced civilian recruits lack basic survival skills for ground combat. Operating in what are often called small suicide squads of about 15 to 20 men, they make fundamental tactical errors. They'll cluster together in open forests, which makes them highly vulnerable to thermal drones, artillery, and snipers in contested kill zones.
Section 4. Cracks on the home front. Domestic and geopolitical fallout.
The sheer desperation to replenish those troop numbers is having a direct, heavy financial impact on local municipalities. Right now, 35 different Russian regions are struggling to just make ends meet. Why? Because they are being forced to spend their limited budgets on massive one-time sign-up bonuses to attract new recruits. This means absolutely crucial funding is being pulled directly away from everyday public services like education, healthcare, and infrastructure maintenance. And all this economic and human strain, it's becoming mathematically visible in public sentiment. Now, it is really important to note that these figures come straight from state-run, Kremlin-owned polling media. Over a 6-week period from early March to mid-April, President Vladimir Putin's approval ratings steadily declined from 72.9% down to 66.7%. When even state-sponsored polls are showing a visible dip in trust, it clearly indicates a growing societal discontent. But perhaps the most jarring statistic regarding Russia's domestic security comes to us from UK intelligence sources. They estimate that an unbelievable 97% of Russia's military capacity is currently tied up in Ukraine. That leaves a mere 3% available to defend the entirety of the rest of the nation or to deal with literally any other geopolitical threats. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought to mull over. If a nation has 97% of its military bound to a grinding 70-meter-a-day stalemate, how vulnerable does that actually leave its vast borders? Experts are already pointing to the Far East, noting that opportunistic neighbors could potentially take advantage of a depleted superpower. It is a massive geopolitical tightrope, and it's one that will likely define the next decade. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, Focused Learners. Keep analyzing the data, and I'll see you next time.